Hello friends, welcome to Insights ICANN Initiative. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Russia consideration regarding the withdrawal from the CTBT. So we'll discuss about various nuclear and security agreements in this video. And before we further discuss this video, first we'll see the theme of the day. Now, today's theme of the day is about the IR, how your approach should be with regarding the international relations. Regarding the IR, the majority of the questions, they are coming the current affairs oriented one, and the source for majority of these questions is newspaper. It may be the Hindu or the Indian Express. In prelims, they are asking questions around 5 to 7 questions, and mains around, of course, you know that IR component is there in the mains. So the mains consist of around 40 to 50 marks in the GS2. In today's video, we will see one sample mains question as well related to IR. And once you follow the current affairs, they are somewhat easy to moderate in difficulty nature. So we'll see some of the IR related MCQs which were asked in the prelims. This is the first question. Belt and Road Initiative is sometimes mentioned in the news in the context of the FISOF. So Belt and Road Initiative related to what? Obviously it is related to which country? China. This was one of the questions asked in 2016. So generally when any country is proposing any particular initiative, we have to go through which country is participating, whether India is supporting or not, or it is against the which country. That means it is a counter project of regarding the which country, that you have to know. Next, second question. Very recently, in which of the following countries have lakhs of people either suffered from severe famine or malnutrition or died due to starvation caused by war or ethnic conflict? Actually, the intention behind this question is about the negative consequence of the conflicts. Okay, so because of these conflicts, these are the negative things are happening. So in that perspective, they frame this question. The answer is Yemen and South Sudan. So don't much emphasis on the answer, but try to understand how the questions are being framed. Main question. India is an age-old friend of Sri Lanka. Okay, discuss India's role in the recent crisis in Sri Lanka in light of the preceding statement. Okay, so we are having good relation with India and Sri Lanka, and what is the role of India in the recent crisis, economic crisis faced by Sri Lanka? So this is the main question, and you can expect questions like this. So when you are reading the newspaper, your approach should be in such a manner that you have to consider these type of questions in your mind. So based on that, your approach should be. Now we'll jump on to today's topic. Today's topic is about Russia is contemplating to withdraw from the CTBT. Why? Because Russia is claiming that America is not yet ratified the CTBT. Of course, they signed but not ratified. You know that there is a difference between the signing on the agreement as well as the ratifying the agreement. Signing on the agreement is all about formally you are accepting the agreement, but the reality is it has to be approved by the respective country legislature. When the legislature accepts, then only we call that agreement is ratified. So Russia is accusing that USA only signed and not ratified. And so they are thinking, Russia thinking of withdrawing from the CTBT, and they want to go for the nuclear test again. In recent times, North Korea was the only country which ran the nuclear tests. After that, no other country done the nuclear test. And if the Russia decided to come out of the CTBT officially, then it is going to escalate again nuclear competition. Because that leads to China may test the nuclear weapons or America may test the nuclear weapons. So it is like a domino effect, cascading effect. In this context, we'll try to understand what is CTBT, how the CTBT evolved, and why India did not sign the CTBT. Because India is feeling that CTBT is discriminatory in nature. Why India is feeling like that, we'll see. So these are some of the global security architecture. Some are bilateral in nature, multilateral, and some are commercial, and some are regarding the peace. Regarding the commercial one, NSG, MTCR, AG, and WG. NSG, Nuclear Supplies Group, MTCR, Missile Technology Control Regime, AG, Australian Group, and Wassenaar Group. And tell me students, out of all these 4 groups, in which grouping India is not having membership? India is not having membership. Put your answer in the comment section. Then multilateral agreements, security related one. Non-Proliferation Treaty, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty CTBT, FMCT, and TPNW. Multilateral. Out of this NPT as well as CTBT, they are very popular in nature. Bilateral. Between these two nations, like during the Cold War, some of the big powerful nations are USA and Russia. So obviously there are a lot of agreements happened between these two nations to establish the peace. INF, START Treaty and New START Treaty. So these are some of the agreements made between the India and USA. So now let us see the video components already we discussed, and the syllabus mapping also we discussed here. Why it is in news? It is in news because Russia is saying that they are going towards the revoking of comprehensive test ban treaty, and they are saying that there is a possibility of resuming the nuclear test. They may do the nuclear testing again. More about this news. So Russian president is thinking that America so far not ratified, America only signed. So why we have to bind that? Here the Russia version. And this may lead to, like I said, this may lead to the cascading effect, and nuclear tests may be done by the USA as well as China too. And at the start of this nuclear arms race, it may be the, negative consequence. Actually, this nuclear arms race, it was stopped after the end of the Cold War. The Cold War was ended after the disintegration of USSR. You know that at that time, USSR was leading by Mikhail Gorbachev. And Russia at the moment, if you look at the nuclear stockpile, Russia is with the 5,889 nuclear warheads and USA with the 5,244 nuclear warheads. So it is imperative that if this country started testing, obviously it is going to have a very bad effect. CTBT. What is the CTBT? First you have to know the full form of the CTBT, Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty. What is it? It is about? It is saying that any nuclear weapon, test, explosion or any other nuclear explosion anywhere in the world, so that will be prohibited. So CTBT is all about prohibiting the nuclear test, okay, in anywhere in the world, complete prohibition, because the nuclear weapons, the human loss and the environmental loss, damage it causes, they are very huge. We are witnessed after the Hiroshima and Nagasaki attacks. This treaty was opened for signature in 1996 and signed by 187 nations and ratified by 178 countries. But the treaty will be formally entered into force only when it is ratified by 44 specific countries. Out of those 44 specific countries, 8 countries are yet to ratify that. Out of that 8 countries, India is one of the country. These 8 countries which are yet to ratify this is India, China, Pakistan, North Korea, Israel, Iran, Egypt and USA. Once these 8 countries ratify that, then this agreement will be coming into effect. Even these nuclear armed states, they did not sign, but still they are following the testing moratorium. What does it mean? Testing moratorium means they are not testing. They imposed a permanent, or they imposed a permanent moratorium on testing of nuclear weapons. And countries like India, we are following the no first use policy as well, nuclear doctrine. Unless until other countries attacks us with nuclear weapons, India never attack, as well as India never use nuclear weapons on non-nuclear country. And recent times, only the country North Korea tested the nuclear weapons in 2017. Even though CTBT has not formally entered into the force, still the CTBT was able to achieve its primary goal, that is prohibiting the nuclear weapons as well as prohibiting the testing of the nuclear weapons. So it achieved. And how this CTBT evolved? Actually, the CTBT evolved way back from 1945. Between 1945 and 1966, around 2000 nuclear tests were being carried, and majorly this carried by USA and Soviet Union, and rest of that are done by the Britain, France and China. So the international community worried about the frequency of these nuclear tests and the damage it is caused in terms of health, environment. As a reason, several attempts were made to bring a complete agreement which can prohibit this kind of indiscriminate testing of nuclear weapons. That resulted to Limited Nuclear Test Ban Treaty 1963. This limited version is it is banning testing of nuclear weapons in atmosphere, outer space and underwater. But still it is allowing the testing of nuclear weapons in underground. Okay, of course that was also been misused. But the major breakthrough achieved by this kind of comprehensive test ban is after the disintegration of USSR. After the disintegration of USSR, you know that Cold War was ended. That resulted to UN took advantage of that political and political conditions. As the geographical tensions were lowered down, UNO proposed a CTBT, which was advocating for the complete ban on these nuclear weapons. Why India is refused? India is refusing because India is already advocating for the ban well before the CTBT came into existence. And India was the first call, India made a first call regarding the immediate standstill agreement on the nuclear testing between the USA and USSR as early as 1954. But the counter argument was made by various countries or nuclear weapon states. They were making claims that this ban on the nuclear weapons is very difficult to evolve as a foolproof verification system. That means it is very difficult to achieve. They countered the India's arguments. But later, even though some countries started proposing for the CTBT, India did not sign on the CTBT because India is having the immediate nuclear weapon countries like Pakistan and China. At this point of time, in the best interest of our national security, India did not sign on the CTBT. India concerns. After the 1964 China nuclear test, India approached both the USA as well as USSR regarding the nuclear assurance. But none of the country was able to give the nuclear assurance to India. So that India's concerns grown a lot. As India debate among the pros and cons of advocating a test ban and nuclear test disagreement. Okay, so whether we go for the ban or whether we go for the nuclear disarmament, the much debate was happened, and the subsequent development led to further China's attainment of ballistic missile capability. That means China was having the range of missiles which can attack Indian cities as well. And America even tried to attempt the course of 1971 war by using this nuclear help to Pakistan. After seeing all these things, India decided not to go for the CTBT. So India decided that in the best interest of the national security and the strategic autonomy. So nuclear weapons can act as a deterrence against countries such as Pakistan and China. So India decision to equitable and universal nuclear disarmament. That means if the disarmament is the case, then it has to be done across other nations as well. Not the only selective countries should be disarmed and other countries will continue. It is not a good idea. So India is advocating for the complete universal nuclear disarmament. That means all the countries should be disarmed with nuclear weapons. None should have that. So what is the impact of the CTBT? Of course, CTBT had significant positive impact as well. It able to reduce the nuclear tests and prevent the environmental damage. It reduced the human suffering, and it was ensured that the nuclear material can be used only for the peaceful purpose. Then, non-proliferation treaty. Actually, CTBT and non-proliferation treaty, these are very similar in nature. And non-proliferation treaty, which came into 1970, and the provisions of this treaty, it has to be renewed for every 5 years. Member countries, 191 countries, including the 5 nuclear weapon states. Of course, India also did not sign on that because it is also not advocating for the nuclear disarmament across the world. That means it is not supporting the universal nuclear disarmament. That is the reason India is not supporting the non-proliferation treaty as well. So countries which did not sign, India, Israel, South Sudan, and Pakistan, they never signed an NPT. Whereas North Korea signed an NPT later, it withdrew from the NPT. These are some of the regulations which control the nuclear weapons. The conventional weapons are controlling by Wassenaar agreements, and the missiles controlling by MTCR. Nuclear weapons treaties are NPT, non-proliferation treaty, and groupings are the NSG. Whereas biological weapon convention as well as chemical weapon convention, the grouping which is controlling is Australian group. These are some of the international groupings regarding the security things. And these are the 4 groupings: Australia group and nuclear supplies group, missile technology control group, and control regime, and Wassenaar agreement. Except the nuclear supplier group, In the rest of the three groupings, India was having the membership. Okay, here their established years are also mentioned. Now we will see the yesterday's videos MCQ questions. Consider the following statement regarding the diphtheria. Regarding it, it is non-contagious disease caused by virus. No, it is contagious disease. So the statement 2 is only the right answer. Next, consider the following pace. So how many pace given above are correctly matched? It was asking. So which one? Muska Valley, it is not related to Uttarakhand. Kaimu Tiger Reserve, not Madhya Pradesh. Durgavati Tiger Reserve, it is not related to Rajasthan. So here don't worry about the answers much, but try to understand how the question pattern is there, how the questions are being framed. Consider the following countries. How many of the countries are given above have signed the Abraham Accord? You know, students, Abraham Accord is majorly in use in the context of Israel-Palestine issue. So Israel will be there, obviously, and so Saudi Arabia will be there, and obviously UAE will be there. So that means Bahrain is not related to this. Only 3 countries are there, Abraham Accords. Next, consider the following countries. How many of the above countries border Lebanon? Lebanon border countries. All these 5 countries are having borders with Lebanon. Which of the following articles of the Constitution of India provides duration of houses of the Parliament? That is regarding the Article 83. Prescribes Lok Sabha duration is 5 years and Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Okay. Now we will see today's video question. Consider the following countries. The countries are given. Which among the above are nuclear weapon state as recognized by the Treaty on the NPT, commonly known as Non-Proliferation Treaty? So which among the above are nuclear weapon states? Okay, nuclear weapon state recognized by the NPT. So pick the right answer. Next, mains question. What kind of implications does the global nuclear discourse present for India? Okay, the global discourse on nuclear weapons, what kind of situation it is presenting to India? Comment on that. Now, as we reach to the end of this video, so what are the main things we discussed in this video? We discussed about Russia decision to come out of the CTBT and what is CTBT and how the CTBT evolved, why India did not favor the CTBT, and some of the international nuclear agreement we discussed. And apart from that, we also discussed about what going on between the US and Russia and why Russia want to come out of the CTBT. This is the detailed analysis regarding the Russia decision to withdraw from CTBT.